as many of you know, the World Economic Forum have made some 8 predictions about 2030. How many of you know 2030 is coming? Right, it is coming. So they made 8 predictions that you would own nothing and be happy, which, again, you just got to stop and think, if you own nothing, then that means somebody else owns everything, right? Just keep that in mind. You know, the U.S., number 2, U.S. will not be a world superpower. Isn't that interesting that that's on their list? And then, you know, it talks about, you know, not eating so much meat. I mean, you know it's demonic in that case. I'm just saying, all right, right? But another one is that Western values will be tested. And so those 8 things, 180 country leaders gathered in Davos, the billionaires and trillionaires that are in the backgrounds trying to manipulate all this, they were just in Davos. And I just want you two to respond to the Heritage Foundation, their president. Some of you have already seen this, but this is really profound. I can't even believe this guy was invited there. And I want you to see how it's set up. The person's going to ask him the question, you know, we here at Davos, we here at World Economic Forum are about, you know, democracy, liberal democracy. Really? Look what this guy says. It's amazing.
One thing that Davos, you might say, and the people come here stand up for, is liberal democracy.
It's laughable that you would, or anyone would, describe Davos as protecting liberal democracy. I'll be candid here because I think I've been invited here to be candid. Elites tell us that open borders and even illegal immigration are okay. The average person tells us in the United States that both rob them of the American way of life. Elites also tell us that public safety isn't a problem in big American cities. Just travel to New York or Washington or Dallas, Texas. The average person will tell you that the lack of public safety damages not just the American way of life, but their life. Elites tell us that we have this existential crisis with so-called climate change. The solutions, the average person know, cost more human lives, especially in Europe during the time that you need heating, than do the problem and the problems themselves. The fourth, China. The number one adversary, not just to the United States, but to free people on planet Earth. Not only do we at Davos not say that, we give the Chinese Communist Party a platform. And fifth, as we sit here, another supranational organization, the World Health Organization, is discussing foisting gender ideology upon the global South. These are practices that are under review, if not being rejected, by countries in Northern Europe. The new president, especially if it's President Trump, will, as you like to say, trust the science. He will understand the basic biological reality of manhood and womanhood. And do you know why? Not because of retribution, not because he's a dictator, but because he has the power of the American people behind him. Let me just correct the slight assertion you made there. We want Ukraine to win. We want to see Ukraine win with a lot more help from European allies. I think the United States has a role. Heritage has been clear about this for 2 years now, that there is a world in which we support military aid for Ukraine. Our first obligation in foreign policy is to look at it through the lens of what's best for the American citizen. Joe Biden has done a god-awful job in articulating what that is. The kind of person who will come into the next conservative administration is going to be governed by one principle, and that is destroying the grasp that political elites and unelected technocrats have over the average person. And if I may, I will be candid and say that the agenda that every single member of the administration needs to have is to compile a list of everything that's ever been proposed at the World Economic Forum and object all of them wholesale.
Yeah, baby.
Did he just say what I thought he said? Like, take the 8 predictions for 2030 and then, like, just scratch them all off? Is that what he just said?
Yeah, because the question, we didn't really hear the question too much, but the question was, what do you think should the next president, what should his agenda be? And then he said, well, the next president's agenda should be to take all of the things, everything that Davos stands for, and object to all of them. That's it. I was like, man, well said. That guy's bold. Wow.
This outfits in the forefront of creating the one world government. United Nations, World Economic Forum, World Health Organization. I would say this is the foremost of the globalist outfits. And without a doubt, it's the most evil. It truly is shockingly evil, shockingly.
Now, shockingly,
And we can see it. You're going to play a clip, I think.
shockingly evil. I want you to remember Jan said that. Because there's only two kingdoms. You know, if you're from our church, you hear me say this all the time. There's God's kingdom and Satan's kingdom. And so every time you're faced with a moral decision or something like that, you just got to ask the question, what kingdom is it from? And we're going to show two more clips tonight. And we're going to see a contrast, okay? We're going to see a contrast. So the World Economic Forum, which you just saw a piece there, who has these 8 predictions. The 7th of the 8th is to attack Western values. Western values will come to a breaking point. In other words, 10 commandments will be totally set aside. Children not to obey their parents, sleep with whoever you want, covet whatever you want, steal whatever you want, etc. So when Davos opened up, they brought a witch. And I shared this with our church, and I just showed them a picture because I didn't want to play what took place during a church service. A witch is going to come and give a demonic blessing to the leaders of Davos, those 180 world leaders, a blessing from Satan, that they might be empowered to create a one world government. You do need to see it to actually believe, like, what kingdom is this from? This tells you what kingdom it's from. Watch this.
Yeah. They need face masks.
Yeah, I thought they cared about that.
Guys that pushed, like the whole medical procedures and separation and all of that. But we only got to address the demonic. This is celebrating. This is seen as good. Oh, isn't this wonderful? I mean, is this wonderful?
No, it's interesting. No, it is not. And if we remember in the Gospel of John, right before Jesus left, that he breathed on the disciples and said, receive the Holy Spirit. Satan's a copycat.
Yeah.
And so here you have this pagan ritual where that's exactly what they're doing in their way, again, to mimic always what the Lord does. And it's absolutely wicked, evil, demonic. But again, this is the king. We know the world lies under the power of the wicked one. And they're going to get their day during the tribulation period.
Yeah, keep in mind, again, this witch is trying to bless them in the power of Satan to create a one world government. Yeah. Why does Satan want to do that? Because God has promised there's going to be a one world government. The descendant of David is going to sit upon his throne. It's going to be for 1,000 years and then forevermore. And so that's what God's going to do. Satan's got to do the opposite side. These are the players. These are the actors. And if anyone wondered whether or not there was a demonic root to this, that should answer it.